What's up, everybody, man? Back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be reviewing the Bandai Namco Godzilla Articulation figure Mechagodzilla 2002. This is part of Bandai's newer line, the Bandai Namco Godzilla Articulation figure series, which is just a new way to sell articulated Godzilla figures on a lower price point. I think these are around $20-ish, $20 to $25, somewhere in that range, depending on where you find them. And today we're checking out Kiryu, aka Mechagodzilla 2002. Get out of here, Bandai Movie Monster series! Previous figures released in this line include the original release of Godzilla 2004, aka Godzilla Final Wars, and Godzilla -1, and they both have their atomic breaths permanently locked in. Because boy, are these figures really painful to get the atomic breaths in and out of, and so Kiryu's probably gonna also wind up with the permanent beam coming out of his mouth as well. Sorry, that's just the way it is. Starting with the box art, like always, I think it's pretty alright. It's not the worst or anything, it's just not all that special to me. The top's got that Godzilla Gojira logo, which is pretty cool. I really like that Gojira written in the font there, although it would be cooler if it said Mechagodzilla. Bottom obviously says Mechagodzilla 2002. It's got the little trademark Godzilla down here, the one from Marvel, which I think would have been cool if it was the Mechagodzilla logo, because they definitely have one. For some reason, they're still using that Bandai Creations Godzilla 1954 on the box art, which I don't love. It does give us a really nice window in on Mechagodzilla, which is cool. You can see the beam up top there, which is nice. On the side, you've got Kiryu here, and this appears to be the actual suit, not the toy. This is the real Kiryu suit, so it looks really nice. Kind of sets a false expectation if you think it's the figure. This is just the Mechagodzilla wording in the series that it's a part of. Legal info on the bottom. And then the back contains this, which showcases their Godzilla 2004 and the Mechagodzilla 2002, as these were the first two to release as part of this figure line. Let's open them up. The box is not precious to me at all. I don't plan to keep it, but as I mentioned with the last one, I do really like the box artwork in the back there. It's very cool. Got this really nice orange explosion going on, which looks pretty sick, and then you've got the silhouettes of Mothra, Rodan, Mechagodzilla, and King Ghidorah. I wonder if that means that those are the figures they'll be releasing next. Although that's Mechagodzilla 74, that appears to be the Showa King Ghidorah, which would be fantastic to get a figure of. That is definitely the original Rodan from the 50s, and that's seemingly Mothra 1964. A lot of Showa representation there, despite the fact that we have no Showa figures from this line that I'm aware of. Maybe some are coming though. This is how Mechagodzilla comes, with a protective sleeve holding him in place, and just like with the others in this line, he comes in absolute shambles, in pieces, but they're not secured in with any zip ties or anything, so that's nice to get them out. Please somebody fix me! Fix me! Why haven't you fixed me yet? Put me back together, and while you're at it, like the video, like this video, and subscribe! Do it! Do it! Alright, let's save poor Mechagodzilla here and hope he goes together nice and easy. Leg piece clicked in right away. Very nice. I really appreciate that. This arm piece, let's see how this one goes on. It's giving a little resistance. Sliding into the dock here. Come on. There we go. Really satisfying click. And the tail piece. There it is, and it just pops on right on the back. Let's see how it goes. It's interesting that this is like not an articulated joint here. You'd think that this ball joint sticking off the back would articulate, but it really doesn't want to. Either way, let's try and get this on. Oh man, it really puts up a fight. Good lord. Am I gonna have to go heat this guy up? Oh my lord, it is not wanting to go on. Oh, did I have it on and I just popped it out? It didn't seem like it was on very well. Well, I am gonna be right back after I heat this freaking figure up. I can't believe I need to do that for a $20 toy, but I guess I used to have to do that for NECA back in the day, so can't be that surprised. Major oof. And just like that, after entirely too much effort, I have the tail piece on. I did have to blow dry it, and the funny thing is, I think I've run into this exact issue with this exact figure line before, because it doesn't really fit as well as I thought. Turns out, I'd already gotten it. I had already attached the tail as much as it can go. I guess I just didn't realize that the tail doesn't go on as much as you'd think. You can just clearly see the ball joint that it attaches to right there, and that's as much as it'll lock on. The tail base is actually very short. It's very shallow, so it doesn't secure the tail on as well as you'd expect, and that's that. That's as deep as it goes. But here's the Kiryu, and overall he looks pretty good. As far as movie accuracy goes, I actually think he's fairly accurate. He does a really good job representing all of the intricacies of Kiryu, including having this little leg panel, having these 3 little bolts on the knees, which is one of the more distinct features of Kiryu, and featuring the screws on the neck all the way up through the head. They did a really good job adding in the little details of Kiryu. Kind of like with their Godzilla 2004, from head on, I feel like there's something just a little silly about him with the wings sticking off the side of the head. They're a little more pronounced than they are in the real Kiryu design. I think it's just an angle thing. Like if you have them look straight up, that kind of minimizes them, but if you look down at all, it really amplifies them, which maybe is true about the real Kiryu as well, but it does stand out as being pretty distinct on here for me. As for the sculpt overall, though, I'm very happy with it. I think it turned out really well. That's one thing that I think this figure line does pretty good. Like I said, it does have a pretty movie accurate aesthetic, and the silhouette is perfect. It nails the silhouette of Kiryu. They really did a good job with that. The face itself looks really good. I love the bolts on the nose leading down to the front of the face. That looks really great. The head is really intricately sculpted. The mouth looks really good too. Look at all the detail in there. They've even sculpted on teeth on the top of the mouth and some ridges up there too. The inside of the mouth has those like really nice, I don't know what that is, tongue sculpt, which looks pretty cool. I really appreciate the dark black ring around the teeth. That's less of a sculpt thing and more of a paint thing, but I really appreciate that because on the real Kiryu suit, which I'm fortunate enough to have seen in person twice now, both at Anime Matsuri 2019 and at the Godzilla Hotel in Tokyo, the real Kiryu suit has Godzilla's bones sculpted into the mouth. Like, you know, obviously Kiryu's built around the bones of the original Godzilla, and therefore the bones of the original Godzilla are showing through, and you can see those teeth are still remnants of the original Godzilla. It's very cool. But yeah, overall he looks great, especially from the side there. They nailed that side silhouette. It's got that very nice Kiryu look. I love all the pieces sticking off, the sharpness, the winged ears, the little screw bolt with the wire running down through the neck. That looks great. I love the wiring through Kiryu's neck. That's super cool. It's actually where the suit actor saw out of too, right through those wires right in there. Fun fact. I love the little bolts here. That looks awesome. These little components there look great. They did a really good job with the big poofy triple chest, obviously housing the Absolute Zero cannon. And it's even got the hinges where it would be opening from, which is a really cool little detail. Having those hinges attached is really sweet. It's got those exhaust vents down here, which looks really good, as well as whatever these tubes are supposed to be, maybe inspired by the Mechagodzilla 93 design. The plating leading down through the body also looks really good. Very nice components, very nice sectioned out. The way they've done the joints is really cool, showing the wiring on the inside just like on the real suit. Obviously, I like the paneling here. I've already praised the knees looking really good. They bring back in the wiring there on the legs, on the shin, and then into the foot where it looks really cool. They did a really good job sculpting out all the toes on that thing. And again, they carry the detail through with those bolts where you can enter Kiryu through. And on the back, you've got more internal componenting, texturing all the way through the tail. Really like that wiring texturing going under the metal plating leading through the tip of the tail, which is very nicely sculpted with that little prong up top. That little prong that would eventually inspire Mechagodzilla 2021. Dorsal plates look fantastic. They've got texturing on the inside as well, which is really nice, and they've got little bolts all over them, which looks really good. They not only sculpted out the main portions of the spines, but they also did those little spikes sticking off, which was designed by Shinji Nishikawa, who included those details on his new Godzilla from Godzilla Galaxy Odyssey as well, which is really cool. As for the paint job, they've done a really good job with the Kiryu paint job. They've got a fairly glossy metallic feel to them. It is aided by the plastic they picked. They picked a really nice plastic for Kiryu. It's not too soft of plastic, but it's not too hard of plastic. It's just glossy enough to work for this figure. Of course, there are some smooth areas I didn't mention during the sculpting portion, but that's to help articulate. But yeah, the paint job looks really good. Overall, he's got that really nice silver look, but there is still some detailing. Obviously, the eyes of Kiryu are painted yellow. He's got the really nice red wires running down the face, those tears coming out of Mechagodzilla's eyes, which are so freaking cool. He's got that little red dot in the center of his forehead, which is painted in. Obviously, I've already mentioned that the teeth are painted black, which looks really great. They carried that detailing through on the top of the mouth. The wiring on the neck is painted black, which really contrasts well with the silver. He's got the red arrows on his arms. The black wiring reappears here again, painted. Same with on the legs, right in here in these gaps. On the shins as well. Just under the knees, you have more little red arrows, and that does it for the paint job on Kiryu, but that's about all you'd need to paint for the movie as well. Looks really great. Pretty much nails the Kiryu design. As for articulation, the head can bend down about that far, look up about that far. The mouth obviously can open and close. The head can spin all the way around, but it is a ball joint, so I just popped it out, which I think is going to happen a lot. Fortunately, that one just pops right back in very easily. But yeah, the head can spin all the way around. It does pop off once you hit this little shoulder piece, so just beware of that. I could see that piece getting lost, as I could with a lot of these parts. If a kid is playing with this thing, I could see this thing coming into pieces and then getting lost. Shoulders can spin all the way around, which is really cool. They can raise out as well, which is really nice, and then they can bend back in. At the elbow, they can do the same. It can bend all the way down, come all the way up, and swing all the way around. He's got a really nice range. The hand can even spin all the way around, which is really cool. It can kind of reach out and bend in, so very nice wide range of articulation on this guy. The legs can spread, which is really cool. It can spread about that far, which is nice before they start to want to pop off. Oh, I guess it just did pop off. My bad. Fortunately, those aren't too hard to get in either. They can raise about this far, but they do have to bend out to the side a little bit to achieve that. At the knees, he can bend pretty decently. The knees don't want to rotate, but that's enough. So you can bend down about that far, which is cool. Get him in a nice kind of hunched over position. And then the feet can obviously kick down and up and spin full 360, which is cool. As for the tail, you've got a rotatable piece here, which is nice. And at the midsection, you've got one, which is nice. So quite a bit of range, actually. It doesn't really kind of go side to side as much as I would hope. And the tail only has 2 joints, which means it's mostly a fixed position, curving to the left, you know? It'll always be curved, or to the right, depending on which way you look at him. I did just notice, I bet you that this texturing on the bottom of the tail is supposed to be black, but they've chosen to keep it silver. Either way, don't think it holds the figure back. And that is Kiryu. He looks fantastic. Coming in at a nice 5.5 inches. Perfect figure size. The only problem is this freaking beam accessory. The beam patterning is pretty cool. It's got this really nice, crazy electric energy. I like that it's not all connected. It kind of stretches and connects in different ways. It looks a lot like lightning. There's a very cool aesthetic to it. Obviously, it's like Kiryu's mazer that he shoots out of his mouth. But the problem is the way they do it. It's attached to the jaw here, which means you have to take the jaw off of this figure, which is notoriously a hard thing to do. So let's just take the head out and see if we can... Whoa! We have just achieved a major victory. That's fantastic! That one came out really nice and easily. That does not keep me in fear of putting this bottom jaw in. Now I feel like I have freedom to pop in and out this bottom jaw and change out the accessory if I so desire, which is really great because holy cow, those Godzilla's jaws are so freaking hard to get out. That is so nice. Thank you, Kiryu. You just became my favorite of this line. And the head pops in very easily as well, so it's like no worries. I don't remember what the sound effect that thing makes it. It's probably something like... Either way, it looks really cool. Like I said, I love the electricity effect going on with that, the way it's not all connected. That looks great. Oh, that makes me so happy how easy it is to take out. Let's see if this piece is easy to get in and out. I might not even need to take the head off on this guy to get that. Yes! That's what it should be! That's how it always should be! Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I'm talking about! That's what it's all about! Woo! Makes me feel better about doing these figure comparisons. Turns out the Bandai Movie Monster series figures are a little smaller than the Bandai Creations ones, as this comes in at 6.5 inches rather than the full 7. Either way, here is the Kiryu. This is actually Kiryu 2003 compared to the Kiryu 2002. Here is the Kiryu Bandai Movie Monster series figure, one of my favorite Bandai figures I own. I think it is fantastic. Truly wonderful with the sculpt, and all of it came together really well. And there they are. And they look pretty nice next to each other. I gotta say, they have different strengths. The Kiryu 2003 is a little more matte gray. He's not as shiny. He's a little duller, but I actually think that works out because I think Kiryu 2003 is a little duller. He has a little bit of extra detail in like painting this jet right here, painting that black. Overall, the paint is a little stronger on this figure. It just pops a little more, like he's got more contrast going on with him. The sculpt is also really wonderful, really intricate, really nicely done. They did kill it on this figure, and you can't go wrong with the drill hand. Super cool. Meanwhile, the new Bandai Namco one still has strengths of its own. Obviously, the articulation's a big one, but it still does have a really nice depth of the sculpt overall. It doesn't look like a bad figure compared to the Bandai Movie Monster series, which is nice, especially because it's more expensive than the Bandai Movie Monster series one, which was $10 versus this one being about $20. I actually think this is closer to $25, but I can't remember. But either way, it doesn't come across as like a significantly worse figure, which is really nice. The richness of this sculpt doesn't put this one to shame, which I'm very happy about. That's very cool. Either way, they look really cool next to each other. Next up, part of his own figure line, the Godzilla 2004 from the same figure line, that Bandai Godzilla action figure series. He's permanently stuck with his atomic breath. because, boy, I'm not going to go through the struggle of taking it out. These guys do look pretty cool next to each other. Kind of like what I feel like with the Super 7s. It's a little sad that, like, the Godzilla is the 2004 Final Wars Godzilla as opposed to being the Kiryu Goji that goes with this Kiryu. I don't know why it wouldn't be Godzilla 2002 or why they haven't made one yet, because that would be a great figure set. Fortunately, this lightning accessory is so easy to get in, we can create a little beam clash, although they both shoot downwards, so it's kind of an awkward angle to try and make this work. I'm glad they're doing this new articulated figure line, especially because it's just nice to have, like, kids have accessible articulated Godzilla figures, which is really the point of this line. Something that I think is very badly needed when I was a kid, so I'm very glad to see that they're doing stuff like this now. The Mechagodzilla is a little taller than Godzilla, which I find interesting, but not too bad overall. Looking pretty sick. We can get a little Godzilla the Ride Great Clash action going on here, as here is the -1 Godzilla from this same figure line. Very cool stuff. Despite the fact that the other ones are both Millennium Godzillas, I actually think these guys pair together a little nicer. They're a little closer in size, and I think they have a really nice aesthetic next to each other. They just look really cool. And like I said, it does kind of give the energy of Godzilla the Ride Great Clash to have these guys next to each other, which is pretty sweet. Finally, here's the big question. Super 7 Super Kaiju or Bandai Namco Articulated Mechagodzilla? Which one do you want? This entirely comes down to preference, I'd say. They're both pretty good figures. The nicest part about them is that they're not the same Mechagodzilla. One of them is Mechagodzilla 93, the other one is Mechagodzilla 2002, so they don't really compete with each other. They're about the same size, with Kiryu being a little taller, which is actually not accurate, as Kiryu would actually be a lot smaller than Mechagodzilla 93. But either way, I would say that the Mechagodzilla 2002, the new Bandai one, outclasses the Super 7's Sculpt. I do think the Sculpt is stronger, mostly because Kiryu's just a more intricate character, so it's a little harder to judge that, but I do think generally speaking the Sculpt is stronger on the Kiryu than it is on the Super 7. Especially because, like, that Super 7 one is a little stylized, a little cartoonish, and I would say that the new Bandai Namco one is not. Bandai Namco also outshines it in terms of articulation. However, the general aesthetic of these two figures, the Super 7 Super Kaiju Mechagodzilla with that really nice glossy sheen on him, I do think has a stronger aesthetic than this Mechagodzilla 2002. I think Super 7 does outclass Bandai in that regard. I think they did a much better job with the paint. If this one had that really nice, really glossy metallic silver, that I think would be outclassing it overall. The real thing that comes down to is, do you want a more articulated figure, or do you want one that I think is going to pop a little more on shelves, and how much are you willing to spend? Let's just say he's $25 on the high end. Like I said, I've seen him as low as 20 bucks, but let's just say $25 on the high end versus $35 average. Which one is more worth it? Absolutely this one. The price on this one wins out. However, like I said, the nice part is they're not the same Mechagodzilla. They don't need to directly compete with each other. If you want to get yourself the new Super 7 Super Kaiju Mechagodzilla 93, you sure can, and you still have room on your shelf for a Kiryu 2002. So, they both fulfill different needs, and they're both very cool. Overall, the new Kiryu from Bandai Namco is very solid. He's got a nice sculpt, a nice paint job, very good articulation, the best accessory of any of these Bandai articulated series, and he's just overall pretty freaking cool. I'm happy to give this guy an 8 out of 10 on a middle to lower end figure market value. I think it's really good. The sculpt really turned out well in particular. I think that's the strongest part of this, and obviously the articulation is a huge bonus. Having an articulated Kiryu figure for kids is a huge deal. I think that's awesome. Very happy with this figure. But what about you? What do you think of the new Kiryu? Are you a fan? Do you have it? Did you skip out on this one? And if so, why? Comment down below and let me know. Alrighty guys, as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. It's through the support of the patrons on Patreon that I'm able to review figures like this in the first place for you. If you want to support the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. And if that's not your thing, please consider joining as a channel member. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you all next time for the next one. D-Man, out.